Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Mobile App Academy, where we show you how to build and configure mobile apps live on the Now platform. My name is Charlie Steiner, product marketer here at ServiceNow, and today we'll be showing you how to get started with a mobile card builder. If you're joining us for the first time, we want to welcome you. As always, Mobile App Academy is a live building series that focuses on managing and building out mobile apps in real time. Our product experts are here to provide guidance, best practices, and answer any of your questions you may have in the chat. We host these sessions every 2 weeks here on Zoom at 10 a.m. Pacific, and our recordings are posted to YouTube and our YouTube playlist on Thursday mornings Pacific time as well. As always, before we get started today, a few call-outs we love to make to any of our new viewers, or to remind our consistent viewers that we do have quite a plethora of resources available on our mobile community page, and that link will be in the chat. And these get updated with our new releases and periodically as new updates to our iOS and Android clients come out. And if you look in the bottom right of your screen, we do have a really well curated getting started page with a lot of great stuff there, guides and white papers, as well as our tiles at the top have a plethora of other resources like labs and mobile training on learning, as well as our YouTube playlist. And the bottom left of your screen houses all of our previous sessions. And do be sure to subscribe because this is where you'll be able to find any session that you may miss. And again, Thursday morning Pacific time is when this recording will go live. One more thing to note is that if you like this session, our sister teams on the virtual agent side, the HR and the performance analytics side also run similar academy style sessions like this where you can tune in live or you can watch the recordings that will be posted to YouTube as well. And those links can be found in their respective community forums, and that's on the top left of your nav. And then you can find their forum and there'll be a link to their academy there. Okay. For those of you who joined us, let's see, 2 weeks ago, we had a great session on mobile publishing, and that was pre-recorded for a few reasons. And this session is also pre-recorded. So this was part of our, we had a K21 meetup that was quite small, but we wanted to bring this session to you all today because this great session on mobile crowd builder provides a great introduction and is a great, about 28-minute overview. So as always, we do have David Ha and Fu Ho in the chat, and they are live. So any questions that you may have throughout this session, we will be monitoring and trying to answer. And then obviously we will have about half an hour at the end for any and all questions. So with that being said, let me flip over to the recording and let's get started. Thanks, everyone.
Welcome to our Mobile App Academy meetup. My name is David Ha, and I'm an outbound product manager here at ServiceNow. Also have Adam Golab with me, who's an inbound product manager on the ServiceNow mobile team as well. And we want to give a warm welcome to everyone joining us live today. As for today's topic, we'll be giving you a quick walkthrough of what it's like to build a new applet with Mobile Studio in Quebec. In case you aren't familiar, we released a new developer tool in Quebec called Mobile Card Builder, which allows you to build or customize mobile card patterns without actually having to dig into the JSON. It's now an integral piece of Mobile Studio, and we're going to use it today to build a new applet using our out-of-the-box ITSM mobile agent workflow. If you're looking to learn more about the overview or what it's like to get hands-on experience, I'd recommend that you check out our on-demand K21 lab, Building Cards and Templates with Mobile Card Builder on our mobile community site. This is a free course that you can take at any time, and we walk you through the capabilities, the plugins that you need, tips and tricks on how to build the templates from scratch, and so much more. And then Charlie, if you can send a link in the chat in case there's folks who haven't signed up quite yet. With that being said, today we're going to take advantage of the ITSM mobile agent workflow. It's an out-of-the-box experience that the ITSM mobile team built for agents and fulfillers to work and triage their instance and related tasks. This is an out-of-the-box experience that will already have majority of the things that you'll need to deploy to the rest of the organization. But for the few things that you might want to tweak, like how do I create a new list, or how do I add or change fields on my list, or associate actions to it, we're going to go ahead and walk you through some of that so that you're up to date on how you can take advantage of Mobile Card Builder moving forward. Okay, so let's start with our first use case, how do we create a new list with Mobile Studio? Specifically, I need to make sure that my field technicians have access to their P1 assigned instance and to be able to work inside of them. So how would I go about configuring that? And to get started, let me go and show my instance. Okay, so we're going to launch Mobile Studio on our instance to get started. And we're going to take advantage of the out-of-the-box ITSM mobile agent workflow and build on top of that. So let's launch into the ITSM mobile agent. And then we're going to collapse our left-hand nav here. I'm only interested in seeing the items under Mobile Studio. And here we can see all the pre-existing screens and actions and configurations that have already been built inside the ITSM mobile agent scope. And essentially, Mobile Studio has made it easy for the admin to see all the relevant tables that are needed to configure ServiceNow mobile apps. And to create a new list applet, we're going to hover over this pop-up icon next to Applet here. And then we're going to click Create New Applet. And again, we're interested in creating a new list applet that shows me my users a list of their P1 instant records. So we're going to name this P1 instance. Assign to me. We'll give this an icon in color. Let's give it a red alert. The description is optional, but we'll leave it blank for now. And then we'll make sure to select the list template, which also comes with a form screen. And then we'll click new. And just to explain a couple things. So a list screen basically contains a card view of your record information. And you typically can fit like 5 or 6 fields on it. And if I show you on my ServiceNow agent client, I log into mobile agent, you can see here's an example of the out-of-the-box experience for ITSM agent. They have this list applet here that just shows you all instance. I'll click see all. You can see all the instances that are currently assigned, whether it's critical, moderate, or low priority. And these are basically the cards that allow you, that shows you the fields that you want, right? You have 5 or 6 fields here on my list screen. If I tap into this, this takes me to my form screen, and I can also configure the card here as well. Typically, you want the card the same on both your list screen and form screen. And if you want additional fields, then you can bring it into the details of your form. Okay. So if we want to show a P1 instance, we first have to create a data item. So on Studio, we're going to click on this plus icon here. And this data item will allow us to define the table of conditions for the fields that we want to show on our list applet. And so let's name this data item P1 instant data item. It's going to pull from the instant table. It's going to be a declarative type of condition. And so it'll be a simple conditional for priority is critical. And we also only want to see the instance that are assigned to the logged in user. So we'll set assigned to is dynamically me. Okay. And then we'll click save. And now we want to jump back into our applet tab and make sure that we select the data item that we just created, which we called P1 instance data item. And then we'll save here as well. Okay. So now at this point, our applet knows that we want to pull records from the incident table. We've defined our conditions. And now we need to decide on what are the fields that we want to show up on both our list and form screen. And to do this, we're going to use Mobile Card Builder. Mobile Card Builder will allow us to build card templates, in other words, card patterns for both our list and form screens. So on our mobile agent client, if I pull up my instance list screen, all these cards that are showing up, this is what I'm going to be configuring. And when I jump into the form as well, this is also the card that I'll be configuring with Mobile Card Builder. Okay, so let's go and do that now. We're currently on the list screen. So let's jump into Mobile Card Builder here. This will take us inside of the builder. And then notice at the top left here, by default, this card got named P1 instance assigned to me view, should say view config. I guess it got cut off because it's too long, but it does say view config. And a view config is just another name for your cards. And we can rename this if we want to, but this is how the cards get auto-generated for you. And since we opened the card from our list screen, Mobile Card Builder is currently pointing to that list screen. I also have the option to build a template from scratch if I want to, but I'd recommend checking out the K21 Lab on Mobile Community that Charlie posted in the chat if you want to learn how you can build your own. But we're going to speed through this and save some time by using one of our out-of-the-box templates. Typically, if you want to use, if you want to just create an applet, you'll use one of the out-of-the-box templates and modify them. Best practices, you should duplicate the out-of-the-box templates so that you don't mess up with the pre-existing ones. There might be out-of-the-box applets that are currently pointing to this template, so it's best to create a duplicate instead. So to do this, we're going to open up the menu and try to find this template. You can see on the left-hand nav, you can see cards, templates, and my templates. We want to search for templates. And here you can see all the out-of-the-box templates that were created by the admin. I think this template was called work order task template, which is this one here. And we'll open this up. And then to duplicate this, I think this is the right template. It has the fields that I want. If you click into the menu, you can duplicate template here. And now let's rename this something else. We'll call this, since we are creating this for our P1 instance applet, we'll call this P1 party one instance template, P1 instance. And also notice that you can define whatever scope that you want to build it in as well. We'll just leave it as global, and then we'll save it. And now that our template has been duplicated, let's start reformatting some of these fields. There may be some components that I want to take out or add in, but I'm only interested in displaying a handful of fields. I want to see priority, number, state, short description, and assigned to. And since we only want to show 5 or 6 fields, we can remove some of these components here. In the top left here, this is a little confusing for me to see 2 fields in the top left. One is probably used for the label and one's used for the value, but we can probably remove one of these here. So we'll delete this. And now I just have 1 field in the top left. And then here in the template, I'm also going to predefine some fields and labels on this template. I want to reuse this template for both my list and form screen. And if I want to save time, instead of filling in the exact same fields on both those cards for both the list card and the form card, I can just define them here on the template itself. So that when I point my cards to this template, it will autofill the fields that I already want and have already defined, right? So in our top left, let's set this field value as priority. In the top right, we're going to set this to number. And it knows that this is pulling from the instant table because that's what's defined on the data item. For the third field, we'll define as short description. And these are the label names on the, or the column names of the table itself. So I know that short description is, that's how it's spelled on the instant table. For this value, we'll set as state. And I could probably set this as a label instead so that it will show up as state. And then I can set the value for state on the right. So we'll set the value here. And then for this image component, it's expecting an image type field. And so we'll pull over. Oh, actually, it doesn't look like I can define my image on the template. I'll have to define it on the card, I think. Oh, no, here. You can define it here on the value. So I want the assigned to avatar. Assigned to avatar. This is a reference type field that's pulling from the user table. And then I want to see the assigned to person as well, but just seeing a person's name won't be that valuable. I want to see who that person is for. So we'll also add a label here for assigned to, and then we'll add the value of assigned to, and then it'll make more sense. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and click save here. So now that I've defined the fields on my template, now we just have to point the cards to this template. Remember, we have a list card and then we have a form card. So we need to point both to this template here. So let's start with a list card. In the top menu, we'll click open. And remember, by default, it named our P1 instance, I think it was P1 instance view config or something along those lines. If you get lost though, you can always filter using the application scopes. The filter at the top here. I know that it lives inside of my ITSM mobile scope. And we created one called P1 instance assigned to me. So I have a form view and a list view config. I want the list first. So we'll open this one up. This is still currently pointing to the default template. And so we're gonna have to click into the menu and change the template to the one that we just duplicated, which is this one here, Party 1 instance template. And then we'll select. And at this point, this card is pretty much done. I've already defined the fields that I want, right? If I wanted to override any one of these fields, then I can define them here. But right now, the fields that are going to populate on this are the fields that we define on the template. So now that we're done with our list card, let's go over to our form card. We'll go into the menu and click open. We'll look for our P1 instance. Assigned to me form view config. And we'll open this up. And then this is currently pointing to the default template. So we'll just change template and point this one to the template that we duplicated as well. Priority 1 instance template. And then we'll save. Okay. So now that we have both of our cards pointing to the right template, we're now going to jump back into Mobile Studio and do a couple other things. So going back into Studio, our list applet is essentially done. We now just have to associate this applet somewhere to make sure that it shows up on our agent client. And we're going to put this new applet into one of our out-of-the-box app launchers. So if I go back to my work, I want this applet to show up on this screen here, on this My Work applet launcher. And we're going to put it at the very top so that it shows me my most important instance at the very top. And to do this, going back into Studio, we're going to identify this out-of-the-box app launcher, which is called My Work. We'll open this up. We're going to create a new UI section. And we'll name this urgent instance. The section type will be an item so that I can see the cards scrolling. And it'll scroll horizontally. And then we'll select the list applet that we created, which we called P1 instance assigned to me. And then we'll save. And now if I move this to the very top, we'll save here as well. And at this point, we should be able to refresh our applet launcher by swiping my finger down from top bottom. And I should see my P1 instance applet. So if I tap on see all, here are the fields that I defined: priority, number, short description, and so forth. And this was for the list card. I also applied the same pattern on the form screen as well. On the form screen, if there's any additional fields that you want to show, then you can configure this as well. One other configuration that I want to show you is how you can take advantage of card actions. So prior to Quebec, end users only had the ability to update records by using a swipe action on their list. For example, This is a swipe action. Or they'll have to jump into the record and then use the footer actions at the bottom here for add comments and resolve. Or they would have to go into the top menu and execute their actions from here. But as you can see that these actions, they're a little hard to discover, especially for new users, and they're not as easily accessible. And so we introduced card actions so that end users can tap directly on the card themselves to execute that action. So if I wanted to create like a new button to show up on this card, end users would just open up their mobile app and immediately they'll just tap on that button to update that record. Okay. And so these buttons are a lot more visible. Users can tap directly on the card to execute it. And then admins, they also have the flexibility to configure how that button will look and show up on that card with Mobile Card Builder. And so for this next use case, I'm going to take advantage of the ITSM agents out of the box action for edit instant to save some time. If you are looking to learn about how to configure new actions on the mobile community, there's a essentials trainings blog that will take you to the Now Learning site, and it'll show you how to create actions from scratch if you're completely new mobile. But to save time, we'll use the out of the box one from ITSM. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a new card action now. And we're going to create a button that shows up on this card, and we'll show it at the bottom left of our card. The card right now, it's a bit crowded, so we're going to have to remove some fields and containers from the template to make some room. So let's jump back into Mobile Card Builder. I'll go back to my P1 instance applet and then click on Customize in Mobile Card Builder. And then we're going to search for our priority 1 instance template. So we'll go to menu and click open. We'll open the templates tab and then find the template that we created, which is called priority 1 instance. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to make some room. We're going to remove the containers and fields that are here below short description. I can remove both of these fields here. And I can actually put this into the body of my form instead of it. If I find out this isn't really an important field to me, I can move it elsewhere, right? I can go into the form and put it down here. So let's remove this temporarily for now so that I can make room for my button. And now if I click on this shadow line on this plus icon, I can create new components. If you're looking to learn about how to create cards from scratch and to understand the differences between text, image, container, and best practices around them, definitely check out that K21 lab that Charlie posted in the chat. But we're going to create a new button that goes to the bottom of our card. And then we're going to configure the display here. We're going to set the height to 30 pixels by 60 pixels. So it's going to be like a small rectangle at the bottom left of our card. And then under button properties, you have the ability to format this. You can either have it show up as just a label, right? So if I wanted to name this label edit, it will show up as just the edit. Or you can have it just show up as an icon, and you can select from one of our icons that we give you that's available. Or you can show both. I'm going to show both a label and an icon. So we'll call this edit, and we're going to use the edit icon. Okay. And then for actions, you can have multiple actions. For single, we'll just select one action for this example. And then we're going to use our out of the box ITSM mobile agent, edit instant action. And then to really make this button pop out on our card so that end users know that this is a button to tap on, we can change the button appearance. You have the admin has control to control the background color, text color, border color, and so forth. To make this pop out, we'll add a background color of light blue. And that should make it pop out a little bit more. One other thing is right now, my button and the fields above it are kind of smushed together. And so I need to make sure that there's a little bit spacing in between those two components. And so I'm going to select this container here. And I know it's a container because I see that I've selected view group. This container contains my 3 field components. I'm going to add a bottom margin of 10 pixels, and that should give me enough space so that there's some white space in between the button and the fields. And then one other thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to delete this top right field. I'll just move it to the body. And then I'm going to select this and parent margin, parent container. And I'm going to change the alignment from stretch to left alignment. And the reason for this is I don't want my button to be stretched from left to take up this entire width space. So I'm going to set it to left alignment. This is something that we are aware of and we'll fix in an upcoming patch. But for now, we'll set it to the left, and this should be good. Okay. So now if I refresh my Applet launcher, I should see the latest changes. So now you can see that there's a few things that are missing. I see that there's a priority field. My short description is missing at the moment. Let's see. I'm going to try to delete this and fill it in again. We'll add a new text component. We'll name this short description. I'll make sure that there's enough spacing in between. Bottom margin of 8. And save. So now if I refresh. Oh, okay. So it seems like everything's a bit too crowded right now. And what I'm doing here is I'm trying to space things away from each other, but not have them overlap. And so I think I just need to reset some of these margins or make the button smaller. And so let's actually set the bottom margin to 5 on some of these containers. And then we'll save this. Let's see what happens. There we go. So it looks a little bit better. I do like my 10 margin on some of these components. So instead, maybe I can make this field a little bit smaller. The assign to field is a little big. So let's set the font size to maybe 10. And the system admin to 10 as well. And then we'll save this. Oh, maybe we'll make the button a little bit smaller. 20. Height 20. Okay. Yeah. Any other thoughts here, Adam, that I could possibly configure to clean up this a little bit? We'll change the font size to 12. 12. Save. Okay. But I think generally you get the idea here. There's limited space on this card, and you basically have to play around with the margins and the font sizes to make sure that all fits properly. I think this should be okay. This is not too bad. There is some spacing in between the short description and the avatar, more than I want, but that's probably something I could fix if I just played around with some of these properties. But now you can see that there is now a edit button at the bottom left of our card. And if the user taps on this, they're able to edit that instant directly from that card. And I can change the subcategory of this to keyboard, and then edit that instant if I wanted to. Right. I can also go back into Studio. There is a couple fields that are removed. I can add it into the body of my form. So I think I removed number as well as I think state, and then we'll save. So now if I refresh my mobile app and jump into the record, I can see there's additional fields there. Cool.
So something to call out to go back, David, one screen.
Yep.
So the reason why David was playing around so much with card builder to make sure that we have a nice pattern here. When you're using this component here that David's showing on the ALP, the item section, there's a smaller width for this section. So you really just need to make sure that you play around until you find a pattern that fits your liking. If you were to click on the See All button, the actual card here is bigger, so you can have more real estate. So let's say if you're configuring a card action on an actual list applet, you'll have some more flexibility with the sizes. But if you're going to use card actions on an ALP within one of those item sections, you just need to play around, kind of like what David was doing, until you find something that you like with the pattern and the styling.
Right. And then in product docs, we actually give you some guidance and best practices on both the K21 lab as well as product docs on how you can play with some of those properties to make sure that it fits better on your screens.
Yep.
So definitely check those out. And that pretty much wraps up our introduction to Mobile Card Builder. If you want a deeper dive, we do have the K21 lab. There's a few other things that we show you. And so it's definitely great guidance. Any questions?
Okay, that was the recorded section. We are now back live. So if anyone has any additional questions, we will gladly take them now. As previous David mentioned in the recording, we do have that K21 lab that is now available on Now Learning that will dive into Mobile Card Builder in much greater depth, and that link is in the chat. And David also posted some essential trainings on our community that would be great to check out. So do that if you're interested, and if that is something you'd like to do.
We had one question from Jimmy. Anytime that you're playing around with the margins and spacing and sizing, do you apply those changes directly to the text component or button component themselves, or should it be applied to the container? And if you check out our labs, we actually walk you through some of the best practices. Anytime that you can configure these properties on the container, we highly suggest that it be done on the container. If there's no container applicable, then that's when you kind of directly configure that specific text or button component. Here, from this example, you can see that I was playing with the sizing quite a bit. I probably could have taken off one field and make everything fit, but just building this on the fly. If the idea here is your mobile card builder is building this JSON from scratch for you, and based on how you move things, it's trying to fit all the things that you're trying to put on it on whatever availability, the space that you have on this card. And so most of the times, if it's not showing up properly, maybe it's because you're squeezing too much on it. Or if you're seeing differences between your Android device and your iOS device, then that's definitely a bug. And you should definitely create a PRB so that our team can investigate further. Another question from Shannon. Prior to Quebec, you can't configure this card, correct? So prior to Quebec, we didn't have mobile card builder. If you ever wanted to build a card from scratch, you would actually have to go into the JSON and then manually manipulate that JSON from scratch, right? So it'd be quite, it's quite difficult, right? Just trying to do it, digging into it that way. You would, in Studio, you would see like a bunch of templates that you would be able to pick, like Applet 1, Applet 2, and so forth. We do still honor those, they're called item views. So if there's pre-existing templates that you had prior to Quebec, and maybe you don't need to use these new templates, you do still have the ability to use those old templates that you had. We are working on a better migration upcoming in the next release for Mobile Card Builder. We're trying to automatically convert item views into view configs. And if you check out the article that I posted on mobile community, you'll have a better understanding of what a view config is, and what an item view, and some of that taxonomy change. But to directly answer your question, you still can you can modify the cards that you had prior to Quebec. It's just you can't change the template itself. You would have to create a new template with Mobile Card Builder. So if you had a list applet that you built in Paris, let's say it was a list applet, it was using an out of the box pattern, maybe it was like pattern 1 or 2, you still have the ability to change the fields on them. You just can't customize that template. You would have to build it from scratch. Hopefully that answers your question. Any other questions? Not seeing any questions so far. And again, I think a great next step is definitely to check out the lab. We do a deeper dive on it, and learning how to build a template from scratch, you'll learn a whole lot more. We have a question from Robert. Let's see. Can you use the card builder to make a card for creating instance that inserts the instant table rather than just updating, editing already created instance? Oh, can you create buttons that allows you to create new records? So for actions that allow you to create new records on a table, those actions can only be applied on quick actions, as well as top menu on a list. So these buttons that you can, these card actions that you can apply to the card themselves, they're only for updating and editing records on the table. And we actually have a mobile hierarchy deck that shows you all the different types of action locations and where you can apply them. So let me go and share that in the chat. There's both a recorded video as well as a deck on that. So here's the hierarchy deck. And if you scroll to the very end of that deck, and I'll actually share my screen here. Let me open this up and share my screen. Okay. So I have this mobile hierarchy deck here that I'm opening up that I found on mobile community. And if you scroll to the very end of this deck, you can actually see all the different action locations. So starting on page 18, if you go down here, what are the supported functions? Is it write backs, navigations? What screens can they be applied to? So anytime you want to create new actions, these can only be applied on top menu, as well as a list screen. So definitely check that out if you want to learn more about that. And then we also have this mobile hierarchy video as well that walks you through this. So let me send you that link in the chat. We have another question from Animal. How to take development done on dev through Mobile Studio to Q&A in production instance. Fu, I don't know if you want to take this, but this is probably just general mobile dev from dev to production.
Yeah, it's basically, yeah, so that's a great question. So for any instance to instance, we recommend that you do an update set and just export it, import it into your production. So if you, on your navigation, if you search for my company, you should see your scoped mobile app, and then you can export that and then import it to your production. So that's the recommended way of doing it.
Perfect. We have another question from Prashant. Can we have one single header say my tickets under the show both instance and request? Or can instant records be shown under one header while request can be shown on a separate header on the Now mobile app? We have one single header. So I think to clarify, I think by header, what we're actually referring to are these segments on a list. So let me pull up that hierarchy deck again and show you something that you can do. If I understand this question correctly. Let me share my screen 1 second. There you go. Okay. Share screen. Okay. So I think if I understand correctly, what you're trying to do is actually you're trying to manipulate the segments on the list. So I go down to list, applet screens. See how on this list screen, for instance, you have segments for details, which shows you additional fields on a form, as well as an activity stream called updates. If you wanted to have requests show up on this segment as a different list, and then I think the other requirement was where's the chat? I think one segment said my tickets, and then one segment showed my request. That's totally possible. And then Prashant, feel free to unmute yourself to help clarify too. Let's unmute Prashant real fast. How to talk. Okay, and then Prashant, if you unmute yourself, feel free to clarify.
David, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Hi, great. First of all, thanks for the webinar as usual, very helpful. Quick question, what I meant actually is when we go to Now Mobile app, you have various segments, right? My incidents, my service request, or my approvals. That's how we have put up those segments.
Mm-hmm.
So we have multiple segments. Is there a way we can consolidate or merge the incident and request both so that as an employee, I don't need to go to different segments to check my service request and my incidents, versus I can click on same tab and it shows both INCs and RITMs on the same view.
To help clarify, so is the idea to possibly create one single list applet in which if you click into that list applet, you'll be able to see all those different record types, whether it's an approval or an incident?
That's correct. So where you have my request, just below the my task, right? You have my request at the right.
Mm-hmm.
Right there, we want, so if you click on that, you will have all the incident and request showing up. Or is that only incident?
Yes, so that's definitely something that you can do. So if you look at item streams, we go down to item stream segments and then item streams themselves. So item streams allow you to control the data item. And so if you have multiple item streams on your list screen, you can actually pull in multiple records from different tables. So here you can see my request. You see both instance and request all in a single list applet. And you even have cases. So that's all configured by having multiple item streams. And this is definitely a good topic that we could cover in a future Mobile App Academy. If you're looking to see how we would build this. But I would recommend, Now Mobile, I think already does this. If you check out on the platform UI side, you can see how they do it for their My Request app, and then kind of mimic what they're doing to better understand how you could create this for yourself as well. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, that perfectly makes sense. And that's exactly what I was looking for. Thank you, David.
Yep. And then item streams, you can't configure inside of Mobile Studio. This is configurable only on platform UI. And we actually take you, if you look at our Mobile App Academy playlist, in our very first video, we show you how to navigate the platform UI for all the mobile related tables, as well as the mobile hierarchy video. So definitely check out those 2 videos. Cool.
Sure. Thank you.
Any other questions in chat?
Is this doc available? This is on community, correct?
Yep, this is on community. We shared both the video as well as the doc on in chat.
Okay, I just pasted it there. I want to go back to Robert's question about the action. So yeah, I mean, what David said was correct. But if you want to insert a record within the incident table, into an incident table within that card, technically you can. You just have to create a action that does inserts. So you're not limited to just updating and editing. You can insert stuff too as well. So just want to, I'm not sure if you're looking for that kind of use case. There's another question, Shannon. We had a lot of requests to be able to modify a watch list, a record. Can you show that in future demo? A watch list as in if a activity stream is updated, is that my understanding? What a watch list is? Maybe we can unmute.
One second, let me try to unmute. Charlie, can you try unmuting? I don't know why mine's not working.
Yep. One sec.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. Hello.
Yes. A glide list, like a watch list, is like a list of, I guess, a list of names, like usernames, that exist on a form, like separated by like a semicolon.
Mhm.
We can modify that type of stuff in regular forms, but not so easily on the mobile view. And so I was just wondering, is there a way to kind of do that right now? We've had a lot of customers who would like to have that functionality. So it's just a basic glide list.
I see.
That they
I
would
see.
like to be able to edit.
Right. So right now we only support reference types and choice lists.
Okay.
And so I believe I did a workaround for that list. I know what you're talking about. It's basically a common delimited
Yes.
string, right?
Mm-hmm.
I did a workaround for a customer a long time ago. Let me look that up. And
Okay.
if you if that's something you want us to show you, we can probably do that for future videos. But thanks for bringing that up. I mean, I can try to.
We have a survey that's when you close this Zoom tab, it's going to ask, what topics you want for us to cover in the future. Can you please actually submit that topic? It's
Yes,
something
I
that
would
we've been
definitely.
wanting to do.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Perfect.
Thanks.
But just know there is a workaround, and we'll cover it as soon as we can. Okay. Let's see. Oh, we have a question from Christy. It says that the hierarchy doc is from New York. We do have an update that's going to be for Quebec. The changes aren't too drastic, but there's some new info, and we will be uploading it in the next week or so. So definitely look out for that. Although it says New York, all the same concepts still apply, so you can still heavily use it. Question from Hitesh: what's master item? So if you're unfamiliar with how our hierarchy tables work, definitely check out that hierarchy video. It explains everything. What is a master item? What is an item stream? What do they do? That's a great first start into understanding how all those correlate to each other. Does mobile support custom relationships? They don't seem to be listed for me. So good news is we're actually supporting custom relationships in Roam. Scripted relationships for related lists, that was not something that we supported Quebec and prior, but this is something that we are introducing into Roam. And I think that wraps up most of the questions. Thank you everyone for all the great questions. Hopefully you found this video on Mobile Card Builder helpful, and thanks for joining us this time in today's session. We will be having another session in a couple weeks, and definitely check out and subscribe to our mobile community site to get the latest updates and so forth. There will be a quick survey that will ask you, if you found this topic helpful and future topics that you want to see in the future. So definitely help us spend a couple minutes to answer a few of those questions, and we hope to dive into those topics for you in the future. With that being said, thank you everyone for joining us in today's session, and we hope to see you in a couple weeks. Thanks everyone.